Hey, welcome to NX After Dark. It's still daytime in Denmark, but my family is sick, so I'm spending time now rather than in the evening. Isn't what I normally do for public tech contributions. So I just had I just filled them up with cold water. Got something for myself as well. Very nice. And I hope you're all doing all right as well. Going to be continuing this project here. It is started, it's now on GitHub. We took two of Heroes tutorial, the router tutorial, because it has the most features, I think, from Angular.io. And we converted it in the previous episode to an NX workspace, as we can see here, the NX.json file. We were following this migration guide from Angular CLI. First one is the automatic one, but there's actually a manual one as well if you have more than one project in your Angular workspace, which is right here. And I think that's kind of saying create a new one, new workspace with the create NX workspace command. And then moving over copying over all your files. Let's see, updating your unit test configuration. Yeah. Okay, so it's still using the same Angular builders. We deleted protractor. We're using Karma for now. Linting. Yeah, we removed the TS lint as well. Okay. And you might be wondering, what now? What can we do now that we have NX? Well, several things. And what we'll be focusing on right now is taking this application with all these features and splitting them into workspace libraries. And there are several conventional types of libraries. And we can even create our own types of libraries. And they will sort of be the architectural boundaries in our application and other projects. And well, the first thing is, how do you split it up? Well, we could start by saying what's the different, let's call it pages or areas of the application or domains or whatever. So there's a crisis center, there's heroes, there's an admin. If we log in, there's an admin. That didn't work well. Oh, probably don't have it running. Yeah. That was the cause. So this is our app, right? It's the only project we have right now in this workspace. It's a very classical Angular CLI style application. So now it's running. So let's try to refresh here. So we can see that now we're logging in. So there's a few, this is the admin page or whatever we want to call it. So crisis, heroes, admin, login. There's a contact as well. Seems like it's an auxiliary route. Yeah, it is. It's here in the pop-up router outlet. There's the compose route. And even inside of here, there's like several parts of this page, whatever we want to call it. So let's start with, let's say, the heroes. We want to split that out from the app. And inside of this app, we see that it's split by folders here. So there's kind of just a contact. There's admin, probably some route guards, routing things. The login is here. Oh, the login. Crisis center. So heroes is what we're interested in splitting out into a separate library, a workspace library. So this is where the first thing from NX is going to help us. If we're using here the NX console extension for VS Code using the generate command. So here we have all these schematics, the Angular ones, or they're called generators in NX. So let's look for the library. There's the Angular schematic. The library schematic will produce a kind of an NPM package library, which you can use in your application projects, but it's really for building, a library. We're interested in just logical splitting of our code. There's also other options like incremental build and so on, but for now, it's just a workspace library for kind of keeping a part of our application in a separate space of our workspace. So we're going to have this, we're using the NX Angular library generator, and here's the different options. So it's going to be called Heroes. Well, that would be our first thought here. And there's some, that is strange. Anyways, this is where, if we're following the conventions of NX, we should have a type prefix here and a dash heroes. And what's the type of this library? First, let's extract this feature library. And we could even call it the heroes page. Yeah, let's do that actually. And then we could use a grouping folder. And I think we might just do that actually, because we'll have more than one library per page eventually. Maybe not right now, but soon. So we'll actually have a grouping folder called heroes. And since everything inside of that folder is heroes, I can remove it from here and just call it the feature library of the page, the heroes page. I don't want to create a buildable library. That's if we want to use incremental build, or it should be buildable and publishable if we want to ship it to NPM or some other package registry. But this is just going to be a workspace library. It will add linting with ESLint or no linting. Do we want to add that? Yeah. Maybe. No, not right now, actually. So is there a prefix to the components and so on? Let's see if there's some already. Oh, the prefix is app. So that should be the default for the workspace, maybe. So let's go with none. And we don't want it to be publishable because we don't want to ship it as a separate package to a package registry or for, I don't know, micro front ends, whatever. We don't want routing for now. We're going to add that ourselves. All these other options. Meh. Oh, so this is something new in NX version 12 something, standalone config. So we can have a project JSON file rather than having an entry in workspace JSON. Interesting. Now, I don't want to do that right now. It's something interesting to look into for sure. Okay, so this is where we're going to have tags. And this is where we can add tags to our projects. And you can use whatever. There are some conventional ones. For example, scope. This is heroes in our case, because we're inside of the heroes grouping folder. And we can have a type. It's a feature library, so it's the type of feature. And we could add whatever, like we say platform, web, or something. But these are definitely the two conventional ones. And what these are used for are the workspace linting rules for enforcing architectural boundaries through the workspace linting. We don't have linting right now, but let's let's at least give it some thought here, and we can use these tags later. Unit test runner, right now we're actually using Karma, so let's keep using that for now. Well, there weren't any tests, so maybe just is better. Okay, so it's interesting, this error here, and down here we see our NX console extension doing dry runs every time I add something to these parameters. And here are all the parameters. So I can actually click this button to get the copy to clipboard, going into my terminal here, shutting down this ng-serve. So let's paste this. NX generate. Now we'll Angular library. The name is feature page. That's the library name. It's in the heroes directory. No linter. Tags are scope heroes and type feature. The unit test runner is Karma. So this definitely looks correct. So let's see if there is actually an issue. I'm going to close down this dry run and run it ourselves. Cannot find projects, libs, heroes, feature page. Okay, so why is it trying to look for projects? That's the default in an Angular CLI workspace, but with NX, we have two main folders instead, that is apps and libs. Okay, so I think we need actually a configuration here in the NX JSON file. And maybe there's also something in the workspace JSON file, which was previously Angular JSON. Projects, is there? Yeah, here it is. New project root, projects. Okay. So trying to remember what this looks like in like a new NX workspace. I'm going to look it up. I have a ton of projects, so let's find an NX one. Yes, I trust the authors, which is myself. Yeah. Okay, so the Angular JSON here, does it have this? What was it called? New project root? No. This is a workspace generated using create NX workspace. Doesn't have this. Okay, what about in NX JSON? There might be. No? Okay, then I guess it's just using the default. So it's expecting apps and libs, but you can configure that to use other names, other root folders. This task runner one, I definitely want that as well if it's not already in my project after migrating. So I'm going to steal that config. Yeah, that's not in here, so I need that. That will add computation caching, actually, local computation caching. There's also one using NX Cloud. So this will speed up my commands if the source code hasn't changed. And then I'll delete this setting, new project root. Add computation caching, and here remove Angular CLI setting. This is messing with the generators. I think that is the thing. Let's try to change something here. Then it should do a dry run again. Let's see if it succeeds. Yeah, looking better. So I can copy this command, or I can press run. If I copy it, I can go in and inspect it here and see if everything is still like I prefer, or if I would like to change something. But this is indeed what I would like. And I have a clear Git status right now. So if I'm running this, should be able to inspect the changes. They're also listed here. We're updating 2 free files here, and we're creating this new library. And all the changes are listed over here, right? Okay, let's inspect the changes. In the NX.json file, now we have another project here, the heroes feature page with these tags. Scope of heroes, that's our grouping folder, our domain or page, whatever we like to call it, bounded context. And it's a library of the type feature. So it's a feature library, which is why we have this prefix in its name. So scope, type, name. We could have called it heroes page, but it's already in the heroes scope and grouping folder. So the page feature should be the top level page. Okay, that was the NX. Let's look at package.json, if anything changed in here. Oh, okay. So it's also running ngcc after every install. Okay. And what else? Oh, it's adding now Angular package. No, it's just reorganizing them, apparently, sorting them. And here, same thing. Why is it specifically or explicitly adding the Angular language service? That shouldn't be necessary. Oh, whatever. Maybe it is in NX, but I don't think so. But let's just leave this managing the packages. Let's leave that to NX for now. Okay, I'm happy with that. Next change. Yeah, so here it's adding the path mapping to our root TypeScript configuration. So now it's adding this. We can use this import path from our application, which we're going to do exactly that in a minute. So if we use add to of heroes / the scope, which is heroes, also the name of the grouping folder, and then this feature page library. If we import that from our application, we will actually be importing from libs, heroes, feature page, source, index, as the barrel file. And let's look at what's inside of there. So this is the generated things. It's exporting from lib, heroes feature page module. There we go. This is an Angular module with nothing in it except for this common module import, which I actually prefer just to start with nothing. And so this will be the only thing we really need to export from this library for now. So this is what we'll be able to import from the application. And we'll do that. We'll connect them shortly. In our workspace JSON file, we now have another project, the heroes feature page project. It's a library project. This is the root folder, but there's also a source root. So any change inside of this folder will be detected by NX, which will invalidate the computation cache. The prefix of this, no, that shouldn't be true of heroes. It should just be app, because we have existing components. We don't want to rename them right now. Prefix should really, I mean, this will affect the schematics or the generators, but we should also be able to set a default in the workspace. Yeah, let's. I'm going to delete it. I think that should be possible. Okay, we will have test target using the executor of Angular dev kit, build Angular with Karma builder main tsconfig karma config. Okay, so there's one for the project. There's also a tsconfig for the test in this project, and there's a main test file used by Karma for this project. Yeah, what else? What's this change? Oh, for the generators, I'm going to move this up, higher up, because it will, projects is where most changes will be. So I prefer to having the other options higher up. Yeah, so let's actually move these also. So the projects will be in the bottom. Default, CLI, default content collection, generators, linter non-unit test runner Karma. Yeah, that's sounding good. Component, prefix, app. And we could look at, oh, there's actually, this is strange because there is no now on Angular component. However, there is a schematics Angular component. You could look up these parameter names and set the defaults for them by like doing it this way, right? Angular component has all these, and there is a, like, we should, yeah, this one should be good to add as well, in my opinion, the display block. True. So we can set our defaults here, just like we're used to with Angular CLI, except it shouldn't be called generators now. It should be called, or sorry, yeah, it should be called generators, not instead of schematics. So, but the configuration is the same. Yeah. Other changes. There's some package changes picked up by Yarn, Karma. This is the project file. So that is right here. It is extending the Karma config file in the root of our workspace. So it's only changing the project specific settings. It's kind of inheriting or extending, reusing all the other settings that are inside of here. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it's a function. Yeah, okay. It's a function that returns this default settings that we have here. Yeah. So it's getting the shared settings and it's extending it. Here they are, spread out in this object, and then adding for the Istanbul code coverage reporter, also reusing from the base config the common settings, these ones. So I guess it's changing the directory setting. Yeah, this is it. Okay, that looks good as well. And then every project is generated with a README file. So let's delete all of this and say this is the heroes page feature, but yeah, it's just the heroes page. And now there are 3 TypeScript configurations here. There's the base one for this project. It's extending the one in the root called tsconfig base JSON. So this one, it's getting all the settings from there, but merging it with these ones. And this is where we see this solution style TypeScript configuration, because it's referencing these 2 other configurations. One for the code inside of this library, which includes everything except for the test main file and the spec test suites, and one for the tests, which is including the main test file for Karma and every spec test suite file and all the TypeScript definition files. And it's adding the TypeScript types for Jasmine and for Node.js, because this is running on Karma. So this is extending this config, which is extending the root config. And then it's adding these options right here that could be a little different from what we're seeing for the tests based on our test runner. Yeah, so we're happy with those as well. And now we have the barrel file, the index.ts file. We already saw that. That is everything that's exported here will be visible when, for example, the application is importing from this path name, this import path. So importing that will give access to everything that's exported here in this barrel file, the index.ts file. So if we want to make other files accessible from within this library, we'll have to export them here in this file. Because deep imports or importing other files that are inside of this library folder, NX will actually prevent that through linting rules. So this is the public API of this library. This is listing everything you're supposed to import from outside of this library. The main test file, this is for Jasmine. It's setting up the Angular testbed. Nothing special here for NX. And now this heroes feature page module, which is just an empty Angular module for now. Very good. So generate heroes page. Here we go. Very good. Let's just verify that we can still build our app. And wait for a minute. Could take care of that browsers list thingy. Yeah, I'll copy this file or here from app project. I think you might also have it in the root, or is it just for the app? Anyways, let's put it in here. We're supporting the most recent version of Chrome, Firefox, 2 major revisions of Edge, the 2 latest versions of Safari and for Mac OS and for iOS, and the enterprise version of Firefox, and not Internet Explorer. Okay, so let's try this again and see if we're getting still this deprecation message. Yeah, so I just wanted to make you familiar with the structure of a library like this one, a workspace library. Okay, now that deprecation message is gone, so I configure browser support will affect the bundle of this application. Yeah, so now we're familiar with whatever we find inside of here in this workspace library. We have a Karma configuration, we have TypeScript configurations, the README file, and the source code, which has this barrel file for the exports of this library. This is the public API. We have the main test file for Karma in this project. If you notice now, we can run the tests for, should be for this project as well. Okay. Let's check. Projects, here it is. It has a testing target. Yes. So why is NX not picking that up? NX console. Run. I guess it's not updated. Did I break something by moving these things around? I don't hope so. I don't hope so. Test, test, test. Executor. Is this one working? Yeah, this one is working. So why is the page libraries test target not working? Is it missing some options? Main doesn't need polyfills. TS config, karma config. Assets doesn't need assets for a library. Styles doesn't need styles. Doesn't need scripts. So what's the problem here? Sometimes you need to reload Visual Studio Code if you have strange errors. Yeah, now it's picking up both projects. So let's try it. Test. Heroes feature page. And this is similar to the generators. We can configure all the options here. We can choose to run, or we can just copy the command and run it down here. Failed. Why is it failing though? Cannot find module karma coverage Istanbul reporter. So maybe that's not even installed. Let's see if it's in our package JSON file. It's not. So that might be it. Yarn, add a dev dependency of Istanbul reporter. Oh, Angular's compatibility compiler. Every time. Oh, it's even doing UMD as well. It's incredibly extra annoying right now. But I think it's actually this this post-install hook by NX. There is a setting here. What is it called? Like, it has this special name where it will only compile the first format out of these. So it will look for each package. Does it support ES 2015? If yes, compile this one only. If no, go through all the other ones here. Yeah, but I don't remember the exact name. Could look it up. Let's try that. CLI. Oh, where's the NGCC? Is it an Angular compiler or compiler CLI? Yeah, here it is. Main Ivy NGCC index. I'm getting a little sidetracked right now. I've found this before. I don't remember the specific file right now. Is it here? Options? Could be it. Oh, these are Yeah, those are not the names. These are the options, but they have different names when using ngcc through the command line. Oh, yeah. I wrote about this in my book that's scheduled for release or publishing in a few weeks. It's called Accelerating Angular Development with Ivy. So the option name is actually inside of there. So I'll have to go back and look at my own book for figuring this out. There's also some options for optimizing NGCC so that you waste as little time as possible, both locally and in the CI. Okay, so anyways, let's try this test command now for our library. See if we can make it work, because this is the only target. So the only command we can run for this library right now is test. We didn't add linting. It's not a buildable library, so there's no build target. Okay, so now it's running. It's failing, but only because it has 0 tests, and Carmen is not happy about 0 tests. So everything's good. Add Istanbul. Great. So that took 36 minutes, mostly because I wanted to explain to you about the structure of a workspace library like this one or any of the other types. These are kind of the shared things you'll see when we're generating. You noticed, right, that there's only a single library generator for NX. So the things about what's in the different types and so on, that's something we'll have to add ourselves or create some custom generators for that or something. For now, we have our workspace library. It's a feature library or a page library. So now we can start moving things out of the application project. One thing to try to do in an Angular, an NX workspace is making the application projects as tiny as possible. And you can make it extremely tiny. I have an article called Tiny NX Projects or something like that, and which goes into detail about everything you can extract out of even the most simple application project. For now, this is what we want to move out. So I should be able to take as a starting point. I'll take everything from here, the heroes folder, move it down to our new library folder in the libs, like so, and delete this heroes folder from the app. And then we should identify which imports are broken. So maybe we'll, let's stage these changes here. Yeah, it's renaming. So that's nice for the Git history. Move heroes page into feature or page library. Move heroes. That's tough. Oh, no, move heroes feature into page library. Yeah. Okay, so let's try to identify the broken imports. So I'll do a global search for heroes something. Okay, this is the first thing. In our app module, now this import is broken. But now we don't want to import the heroes module. We want to import this, where is it? This heroes feature page module. But maybe this should contain what's currently in the heroes module. Yeah, looks like so. Yeah, so we'll take everything that we have here and copy it over here. I'm keeping this name because this is the conventional NX name. So I'm sticking with that and making everything work again. So now I'm hitting, I'm on Windows, so I'm hitting Control and then the dot, the period, so that I can import from Angular command. I think I have extensions for this. this AI is not artificial intelligence. It's one of these extensions here. What's the name of that? Automatic import or something. Yeah, auto import. That's a pretty good one. Yeah, so we could even do the control period and then do add all missing imports and then inspect them. Yeah, that looks correct. Good. So now I'll delete this heroes module and make this one is exported right from index.ts. So I should be able to import that. I'm going to delete this old import and replace this with importing the heroes feature page module. But this one is not good. This one is not good. So in this case, I think I have to restart the TS server. And it's running some stuff down here, initializing the JSTS language feature. Now I might get lucky. No, still not. Okay. Then I'll go into, well, I could go into tsconfig base JSON and find the name here, or I could start doing like so. Import from tour of heroes. Why is it not picking up on that? Should be able to do this. And it's a little strange and unexpected. Wonder what's broken. I should be able to import this. Let's try to add it. Is it one of these reload VS Code again thingies? Maybe. Let's try. Takes a minute. No, it's still very unhappy. That is strange. What if I do nx build? Oh. Okay, so this project, it is extending from, let's see, 2 levels up, tsconfig base JSON. Yeah, so it is extending from this file, so it should have this import path. It should have access to that. Build target fail. Oh, so it is actually going into this feature page. So maybe it's because we have some issues inside of this library. So we could, yeah, we need to start figuring that out. For example, this message service, that looks like it's a shared service. So now we're going to have to extract that into a library because our libraries must not ever import from an application project. So we have to think about our architecture now. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to have to start fixing these import errors. Let's see. This one, the hero detail component. It's looking for the hero service. Yeah, that's available. Hero, also available. What about the hero list component? It's using hero service. Those are available. That's a good start. So these should be good. The hero service. Yeah, here we have an issue here. We're looking to use this message service, and the message service is probably used in multiple places, or is it? Yeah, it's used in the hero service and the crisis service, and the crisis center is a different page in our application. So they're going to have to share this service. So we'll have to extract or generate a new library for the message service for now, so that we can access it from our library, because this library cannot import from the application project. That would be a circular dependency and go against our architectural principles. Okay, is there anything else we need to fix? Components are imported here. And this one, we have the component and the list component, detail component, the routing module. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we need to fix, probably. For now, what is a good commit message here? Update import from import path. Yeah. Okay, now we need to generate our second workspace library. And it's going to be a library, a workspace library. And this would be messages. And so remember, we need here like the type prefix, library type. So what is the type of this one? It's not a feature, because feature is about features in the UI. And this is not about components or anything like that. This is about a service. And usually services belong either in a util library, if they're kind of stateless, but for something like this is about this. Yeah, let's have a look at this message service to determine what it is. So this is definitely a stateful service. It's maintaining this state of messages that we can add by pushing into this array really ugly, and clearing it by creating an empty array and storing that in the properties. So this is very stateful. It's about application state. It's not something that's stored in the server, so it's a session state, but still about state, application state. So I would put this in a data access library. And what's the grouping folder for that? Let's put it in a shared folder, because it's shared between features in our application. These options we don't need. The import path is automatically generated. No linter. What else? Yeah, the tags. So, okay, the scope is shared. The type is data access. And what did we do? Yeah, we added karma. Let's keep using karma for now. Okay, so the dry run here is telling us this can be done, and it'll create a shared folder with data access messages folder with the library and all these things inside of it. And this is what we want. So we could do the copy command, or this time let's try running from here. There we go. And now we have 3 projects in our workspace. And here in NX console, we can see the different targets of our projects, even with different configurations. And we can run them from here, or we can go to where that configuration or target is defined in our workspace config. So helpful stuff here from the NX console, which, by the way, is also it also works with Angular CLI without NX. And here is the commands that are added by NX. These commands do not work with only Angular CLI. So something we can look into later, because it's useful whenever we have multiple projects, which is exactly what we're doing right now. Okay, so we generated the library. These are the files. Let's go inspect this new library in the shared folder. the data access library for messages. So the readme file, let's call that messages data access. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, open that. So, well, we could, yeah, just generate messages data access library. And we don't need a module, but what do we need? We need to extract this messages service or message service. So cut this and paste it down here. We don't need a module for this because the provider is here. It's a tree shakeable provider with the scope of the root module of this application. So we can remove this module. We don't need it. And instead, in our public API file, barrel file, this index.ts, we can export all symbols from lib message service. So this class is exported from this file or this JavaScript module, and we're re-exporting it here, re-exporting in this barrel file, which is the public API of this library. So now we should be able to import this class from other projects. Going to restart the TS server because that's something I find we often have to do after NX updates these path mappings. So we should be able to have this import path available now. So in every, well, okay, let's do refactor move message service. So let's do a global search for import message service. Oh, we already had that. Okay, our hero service, which had the issue. See if we can do a fix. No, it's not smart enough right now. So can we do it this way now? Tour of heroes. Yeah, here we go. And then autocomplete, control space. There we go. Now we're able to import it. And then we can inject it in the hero service. And let's do the same in the crisis service, which is also referring to this. So here we are inside of the application project. Yeah, this is a bit strange. I think it has to do with some of the TypeScript configurations of this project. They weren't migrated to what's preferred with NX. So we're going to have to compare that to that other project that I had generated for another purpose. But let's see if actually we can build the application now. Waiting game. So it worked, but Visual Studio Code is not happy. So refactor update imports. There we go. So to make VS Code happy, so that we don't get these, where is that? Crisis. Where's the crisis service? It's here. We don't like this error. So there's something wrong with the TypeScript configurations. So let's compare what we have here to this project that was actually, this workspace that was actually generated with NX. Yeah. So we see it has more configurations, right? So these two are not in our workspace. So let's add them for starters. I'm going to paste them here. TS-config base JSON. Yeah, that's working, that path. And here is the solution style TypeScript configuration where it's listing 3 different other configurations: app, spec, and editor. And the editor one is what's probably needed to not mess this thing up when we're going to, maybe we should restart the service, the TypeScript service or server, whatever. But let's also compare the other 2 configurations that we already had. Let's open these up and compare them to what we had in the other workspace, which was a real NX workspace from scratch. Let's try to compare them. So spec, this is ours. This is the one generated from scratch with NX, but it's using Jest. Karma, instead of this test setup file, we have a main file just called test, and we're importing the polyfills as well because Karma is running in a browser where Jest is running in Node.js directly. Okay, yeah. Okay, here we need to change something. So here we're extending the ts-config file in this project directory. We should do the same in our file. Everything else is similar, but a little different, slight difference between Jest, which is using CommonJS and Node, and Jasmine and Karma running in the browser. So it has to have these polyfills. Okay, and the app config for this project, let's compare those. Wow, what is this? What? I have no idea. That is strange, but whatever. Okay, again, we need to extend this solution style configuration, and that might be it. Yeah. Okay, did that change this? Let's try to restart the TS server. It's updating down here, initializing, and yeah, now we don't have this issue, and I think we can control click, yeah, to go into this barrel file. Nice. Yeah, so this was something that was not in, this should have been done by the NX migration. This is what's known as the solution style TypeScript configuration. But there's one per project rather than one for the whole workspace. And that is because NX allows us to run commands on a project by project basis. Sorry. So this configuration is kind of importing the other 3 configurations, but each one of those is, this one is including the main file and everything referred, imported from the main file, and so on. But it's excluding all the test files and spec files and all of this. The spec file is only including this. Yeah, this is a testing configuration for Karma. It's only including the spec files and the type definitions. And finally, the editor file. This is for Visual Studio Code. It is allows it to be aware of this. Sorry, for example, this import here. So Visual Studio Code will work for all files, whether it's actual components and services, or whether it's testing files, which and in spec.ts, right? Good. Yeah. So migrate application TypeScript configurations. Well, use solution style operation. Yeah. Better. Very good. Very good. Pushing these changes to GitHub. And now we're just spend an hour doing that and discussing all these things and working our way through the different problems and extracting this logic. So now we have 3 projects, and to see kind of the dependencies between them, let's have a look at the NX commands that are added now, the dependency graph. Let's look at that. It looks like so. If we select everything, we can see that now we have 3 projects. Our app project, which has no tags, our page feature library, which has the scope of heroes, type of feature. That depends on the shared data access library for messages. But we can also see that there's a dependency between the app project and the shared data access library. That's because that crisis center service is still here in the application project. So if we leave out this one by excluding, you can see this dependency between the app project and the data access library here. If we have everything, we can kind of start to see the layers of our application visually, and we can get some more benefits. Like we can add workspace linting rules. We can test on the project basis. We can do affected tests so that we run tests or linting or whatever for only the projects that are affected by changes in our current branch, which is really nice when you have a big project. And we get computation caching. So if nothing has changed in, say, this library inside of our branch, or sorry, since last time it was run, we'll get an immediate result back. Let's see if we can actually do that. So let's say NX test, and then, well, let's use this nice NX console test, and then the heroes feature page. Oh, there is no tests, right? Dang. Oh, so it's using Karma in the browser. Okay, so it was actually running. What if we do it again? See if we have computation caching now. No, it doesn't look like it. That's a little strange, considering I would expect it to work because I have it in my NX JSON file here. Task runner options default null workspace task runner. So cacheable operation, it should be cached now. What about build? NX build should default to this app project. Build for production. Yeah, this is a little strange. Why is NX not caching this? That's the whole purpose of this runner. Yeah, because here we see the result of running that. So when I run this command again, it should, oh, here it was working, right? NX read the output from cache instead of running the command for 1 out of 1 tasks. Yeah, so immediate feedback. It's saying, oh, you changed nothing, so here we go. This is what's output to the console, and is also caching the actual build files, the build output, which is here in the dist folder. Or rather, it's here. Apps, 2 of Heroes apps. Yeah. Let's delete dist and then try to run build again and see if the files are also cached. Yeah. Did you notice that? How quick that went? Whereas if we're skipping the NX cache, let's delete the dist folder again, and then do NX build, but skip the NX cache. It should start again, even though it was already cached. We're kind of forcing it to rebuild the files and the output that we're seeing in the terminal. Which takes a good minute. Oh, 16 seconds. Small application, right? Yeah, so running that again now should also, now that's the new cache, right? 16 seconds, it's saying, right? That still takes just a few milliseconds. Nice. So now we have cached build outputs. I think this is actually something that is being proposed or worked on for Angular CLI, something like this, something similar, which would be great for people not using NX. Another thing that this can be helpful for is, instead of having this default runner, which is the local one, there's also an NX Cloud runner where we can share these outputs, both the terminal output and also the files that are put inside of this dist folder. They can be shared through NX Cloud, or through you can also have a private on-premise NX Cloud server. So when I do the NX build here, when my colleague opens up the project tomorrow and runs NX build, he will get it immediately from the cloud rather than having to wait 16 seconds in this case. And in our CI server, our whatever GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps or whatever we're using, GitLab or Jenkins or whatever, they can also benefit from having this cache if we're using NX Cloud as our task runner for NX. But even here locally, we can also get some benefit from it. Yeah, that was a few different things. Let's see what we did. So we extracted first this heroes page, and we put just everything inside of here from that was previously in the heroes folder in the app. So now we don't have a heroes folder up here anymore. And yeah, some of the things might not belong here. We didn't really consider that, but it's something we can consider in the future, because there's the concept of what belongs in the feature library, what belongs in the data access library that we also have now, what belongs in a UI library, a utility library, a testing library, a domain library, type library, or whatever you need. So something like this, for example, the hero service, that should be in a data access library. It's about application state and not local state. Well, maybe local to this page, right? But still shared between components, and might even be, like, it might be used in another part of the application. I think it's only used here in the heroes page, but across different components. So this is something we might choose to extract into a data access library, something we can consider at some point. Okay, and to do this, to extract this library, we needed to extract or create this data access library for messages so that we can put in the message service here because this is reused between both the hero service and the crisis service. And remember, we saw that nice little dependency graph where we now have a visualization of the dependencies between our projects. We have the square one, which is an application, and we have a feature library. We can even focus in on that, which highlights it, and all the projects that are related through dependencies, which is everything right now. Right? But if we unfocus and do this one instead, focus on that. Oh, well, it's the same. Yeah, they're kind of all related right now. Yeah. Okay, group by folder. That's also a nice one. So here we can see our grouping folders. We have the shared folder and the heroes folder, which corresponds to exactly what we're seeing inside of the libs folder here. Shared and the heroes. These are called grouping folders. So they contain other grouping folders or projects. Right? We can also have grouping folders in apps if we have a lot of apps, application projects, or end-to-end projects up here. Okay. Yeah, this is an hour and 12 minutes. Let's see if I just have to see if I have to go to my family. Not right now, but very soon. So let's do one last thing. Let's extract that crisis center into a feature library because it has a lot of stuff, and it also depended on that message service. So let's see if we can do that pretty fast in the same way we did the page for heroes, right? Let's take that challenge right now. See if we can do it in 5 minutes. Generate library. It should be called feature page. It should be in the crisis center grouping folder. And we need some tags, scope, crisis center, type, feature. Karma, sure. Running this generator. There we go, it's done. Let's go to the README file. We'll say this is the crisis center page. Everything else should be good. Generate crisis center page. Library. And now let's take everything from inside of here, this crisis center folder, feature folder, move it down here to crisis center, feature page, lib. Yeah, everything is renamed in the Git history. That's good. So we retain the history of each file. And now we have these. This is the old module. We'll take all its imports and declarations, put it inside of this new feature module, which has a conventional name in NX. So the scope, the type, and the name of the library. This corresponds to crisis center, feature, page, and then module. So that's how this name is generated by NX. Okay, now we just have some missing imports. So see if we can add all missing imports. Yeah, this looks good. Oh, there's one here that might have a broken import or something. But we should be able to delete this module now. And we're going to need to import this one from our app module. Where's the crisis center? Is it in, do we have an app routing module? Yeah. Oh, what did I do? App routing module, crisis center. Okay. Yeah, so this has to be updated, and we should have this module instead, this feature module. So now let's see if we can do Tour of Heroes. No, it hasn't detected it yet, so I need to restart the TypeScript server, the language server. And after that is done, now I should be able to say add Tour of Heroes, Crisis Center feature page, and should be able to detect this feature page module. Good. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So refactor update lazy import. And now let's look into this component. There's something wrong. Okay, so it's relying on a dialog service. Yeah, so now we have to figure out the dialog service. Dialog service. Who is using that? Actually, only the crisis detail component, but it's kind of outside of, it's in this shared application root folder. So I guess it's supposed to be a shared service, right? But it has to do with like a confirmation. Is it not used in tests? Oh, it's because we don't have tests. Yeah. So we could choose to add this only to this crisis center feature, but this is, I mean, that could be a good first step, and then only extract it to a shared library when we need it. But yeah, we're looking a bit more ahead here and saying this is a reusable service, and it has to do with presentation. It's a dialogue, a user dialogue. Behind the scenes, it's using window.confirm, which this is really bad code. But anyways, yeah, there's also to do here about that. Anyways, this is about presentation. So this is something that could fit nicely into a UI library. So yeah, I think the 5 minutes are about up, but let's do another 5 and fix this issue. Now generating a UI dialogs library. It's going to be the shared folder, grouping folder. I'm going to have a tags here. Tags scope is shared. Type is UI. I'm going to generate that. Good. Taking this dialog service, and well, first let's see if everything is as expected. UI dialogs. Dialogs UI. Yeah. So generate shared dialogs UI library. And now let's cut this dialog service and paste it into our new shared library here. So this is similar to this messages data access library where we don't need the Angular module because the service is using a tree shakeable provider provided in root. So it's an application singleton service. But we need to be able to import this from other libraries or projects. So here in our public API or the barrel file, we will re-export this dialog service. From there we go. Okay. So now wherever was in the crisis detail component. Let's restart the TS server. It's initializing. There we go. So now we should be able to say import from Heroes shared UI dialogue service. There we go. And now it's happy. It's able to compile, right? So vector extract dialog service to shared dialogs UI library. Move. Nice. Okay. If everything's good, we should be able to build the application now. Yeah, that was another few minutes, right? And if everything is working now, we should be able to take another look at that dependency graph. Oh, something's wrong. Oh dear. Can deactivate guard. So that's another, this route guard, right? So that's still up here in our app project. This is another route guard that certainly this is a shared thing. I don't know if it's activated in other, it's only the crisis center feature, but this is certainly intended to be shared. So we need another library. So this has to do with routing. So I would also personally put this in data access. Is it about, well, this is not really, this is not about security. So it's not about authentication and authorization. This is about, is there, for example, is there an unsaved state that should prevent the user from navigating away? So this is about navigation. And it's in the shared scope. So scope is shared, type is, I'm getting a call from my wife, so I have to leave in just a sec. Navigation data access. And we can say that we have generate shared data access library. And we will put this into this new library. Where is it? Here it is. And this also has a tree shaker provider. So again, we don't need this library module as an entry point, but we instead need to re-export from this route guard. We start the TypeScript server because we introduced a new path mapping. And now import from of heroes, data access navigation. Yeah, okay, so it has both interface and this guard class. But yeah, oh, maybe someone's importing that. Interesting. No, no one's actually importing that. Okay. Yeah. move and deactivate guard to shared navigation data access. Okay. Let's see if we can build now. And end this session very soon. Okay, so just extracting these two pages or parts of our application into separate libraries, the Crisis Center page, the Heroes page, forced us to think about the architecture layers of this application and what is shared between features or intended to be shared, and which category is this shared in. So we have something about presentation in a UI library, about dialogues. We have something about some services about navigation. We have services about messages. This is application state. Okay, so this one about navigation. I mean, you could have it in a utility library, but everything about routing and navigation and route guards, things like that, I usually tend to put it in data access. So decide on what makes sense for you and your team and your project. Now we're able to build. So let's have another look at this dependency graph. Look at that. We have a hierarchy. We have layers. We have grouping folders. So now we're starting to see the structure of our application, the Two of Heroes app. It has a feature Crisis Center with a page, has heroes, domain or feature, page, area, whatever. It has a heroes part of the application which has a page. That page depends on messages, so does the Crisis Center. But the Crisis Center also depends on the UI dialogues and the navigation data access. If we focus on, let's try to do this focus here and see some of the projects disappeared, right? Unfocus, select all, we'll see everything. If we focus on this one, everything out here is removed because there's no dependency chain between what's over here and what's over here. So those features or pages are isolated from each other, although they do have shared dependencies, at least this one, right? So, and similar, if we focus on this one, I would expect these two to disappear from our graph because it's isolated from them. It's imported by this page library, but there's no connection directly. If we follow the arrows, right? There's no connection pointing back to them. So focus on this and the other shared libraries disappear. So this is a good tool for keeping track of dependencies. Of course, we should enforce that through lint rules, but we removed the linter, so that's something we can do at a later point. What's also interesting is the affected command. So we could do an affected dependency graph. That would be if we created a new branch and changed something inside of let's say, this heroes page. NX can calculate which projects are affected by that change. So that would be, of course, this project, but also every project that has a dependency on it. So that would be the application. If we changed a file inside of, let's say, this one, every project listed right here would be affected by that change. So we would need to run builds and test targets and end-to-end targets for all these projects to make sure that we have covered whatever could be affected by a change in this data access messages library. Okay. Very good. I'll push these changes to GitHub and shut this one down. And that's it for today of NX before dark, but on a sick family day. So that's why I'm doing it during the daytime today. I hope you learned something. There's a lot of interesting things we stumbled upon here. The best thing is it caused us to really consider the layers of our application, the architecture layers, and we can introduce linting rules to enforce those boundaries, these layers in our application. And now we can start to make sense of what really belongs where. Maybe in another episode we'll continuing extracting pages and features out of this application, and then we could dig a layer deeper and consider what we put into each of those pages, what could be extracted into a separate feature, what belongs in a UI library, what belongs in a feature library, what belongs in a data access library. Is there something that really belongs in a utility library? What about a domain library? Is there something that is only about the domain of the application? And the answer is yes. So we could look into all of those interesting discussions in other episodes. Yeah, I'll see if I get time for that. And this is a series I do whenever I have some time on my hands. And right now my family is sick, so I'm staying home with them. And then I felt like I wanted to share something on this topic because it's something that comes up again and again. How do you migrate from Angular CLI to NX? What can you do after migrating? How do you split an application into libraries? And we took a good, this is a good starting point, but there's a lot more to it, right? A lot of details, a lot of options for what we can do with NX. And we're just touching on the tip of the iceberg here. So until next time, I hope you have a pleasant weekend. Thank you, Abel, for joining, and thank you for good wishes for my family. I hope they get well soon as well. They probably will throughout the weekend, and they'll be all good for Monday. Same for me, hopefully. Hopefully I don't catch anything from them. So until next time, have a good time and keep learning. I hope this inspired you to experiment or actually do a migration to NX yourself in your projects. And hopefully I can show you some other tricks later. Bye for now.